that happen to be weak can cause the first letter to have a haraka. Like in yaqulu, what's the weak letter? The wow, right? What are the root letters? Of wow, lam. So normally, yaqulu, it originally was yaqulu. But normally, all of the verbs that we've learned about thus far are sakin. The first letter of the verb is sakin. It has a sukoon whenever it is in the present tense. But that's not always the case. And when we study advanced forms besides form 4, we will find that that's not always the case. Huwa yut'imuni. He does what? He feeds me. What are the root letters of yut'imuni? So in the non-form 4 version, meaning in the form 1 version. What do I mean when I say in the form 1 version? I mean whenever it is that we look at this verb in the dictionary. Okay, and the dictionary is going to be crucial from here on out. Let's just look this verb up real quick. Ta'ama. Let's look it up. It says that the past tense is what? Ta'ima. And it says that the present tense is what? No. Present tense. Guys, let me explain something. This is our past tense, right? When we look up a word in this dictionary, in the English, you'll always see the harakat of the past tense. However, in present tense, the A, I, or U tells you the haraka of the middle letter in present tense. So what is the middle letter here? Ain, right? The Ain will have a fatha in the present tense. The present tense always starts with the prefix. You guys are missing the prefix. What's the prefix? Not yut. Yelp. Guys, we're talking about form 1 right now. Form 4 has a dhamma on the prefix. So, ta'ima, yelp, the A, yat'amu, ta'ima, yat'amu. So, once again, when we look something up in the dictionary, we look it up via its root letters, okay? Let's look up something we know, like nasara, okay? When I look up nasara, this English is telling me, is this telling me the past tense or the present tense? That's the past tense. So what's the past tense? Nasara. And what's the present tense? How do I know it's su? The U is telling me it's su. The U is telling me there is a dhamma on the present tense middle letter. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, once again, we look up the root letters. The English tells us the past tense. The A, I, or U tells you if there is a fatha, dhamma, or kasra on the middle letter in the present tense. So, the present tense of nasara is yan. Is it yansiru? It's yansuru. Okay. What does nasara yansuru mean? Help, right? Now back to our verb. Ta, ayn, and mim. If we look up these root letters, now ta'miya, man. See that? That's some Egyptian food. So ta'ima. We know it's ta'ima because the English is telling us ta'ima. And then our present tense is yal'amu. What does ta'ima and yal'amu mean? No, that's not what it says. Alright. To eat. To eat. Ta'ima means he ate. Yat'amu means he is eating. That's form 1. That's form 1. Alright? The default is form 1. Okay? Now, you've told me that this verb in our book is not form 1. Rather, it's form 4. And how did we identify that? Our prefix has a dhamma, and our middle letter no longer has a fatha. Remember, our middle letter here in form 1 had a what? Had a? In form 1, a fatha, the A, remember? But right now we're seeing that this is not being written out in form 1. It's being written out in form 4, and we've identified that by the dhamma on the prefix and by the kasra on the middle letter. Okay. Are we getting better at that? Does anyone feel like
you give us that in form 200.
No, I'm not giving you that right now.
Oh, we don't know that yet? Okay.
No, we don't. We don't.
Right.
Now, yut'imu is form 4, and we can see it through this pattern of dhamma and kasra. Let's go ahead and look it up in form 4. What does form 4 even mean? To feed. To give someone to eat. So, وَالَّذِي هُوَ يُطْعِمُنِي means what? And the one who he feeds me. وَيَسْقِينِي is a new verb that we did last time. Good. So what are the root letters of yasqini? Sin, qaf, ya. Let's look them up. Sin, qaf, ya. Now wait, let's look at the past and present tense. What's the past tense of yasqi? You see it? No, look here, look here. What's the past tense written as? Saqa. We're not reading the ya at the end. We're just turning it into a mud. How do I know it's been turned into a mud based off the English? No, the English, what is it?
The thing on top of the alif?
Yes, the thing on top of the A. Okay? Which we'll talk a lot about. I'm not trying to overload you with English diacritical marks. But in English, you know, like, I can type, like, you see these? See those things? Those are used in transliterating Arabic into English. And they teach you a lot. For example, let's go back to ta'ima. Ta'ima. In the English language, this is a standard that if you want to show the ayn, you put a little bit of a apostrophe, a backwards apostrophe. You see that right there?
Yeah.
After the A. So this is telling me ta. And you see the asterisk under the T?
These are the same ones used in English translation?
Yes.
Pronunciation?
Yes.
Okay.
This is standardized. This doesn't change across the globe. There are two major systems of transliteration and use. One is called the Chicago Manual of Style. The other is called the Oxford Manual of Style, which we'll talk about later. But back to ta'ima. Ta'ima, I see there's an ayn based off that asterisk. In the present tense, it's yat'amu. And not the asterisk. Did I call it an asterisk? I may be confusing the names. What's after that?
Something under the T.
Oh, that.
I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the English is just trash. Like the quality of the scan of the book is not that great. But that's like a little, like if I try typing a T, you see that right there?
Yeah.
The first one? The little mark underneath the T? Are you guys able to see that?
Does it sound like a custom?
No, that's how we write thaw in English.
Oh, okay.
That's how we write the letter thaw with that T. Okay? So, yasqini is the verb that we are looking at. The past tense we found out was saqa. And what does the present tense tell me it should be?
Yes.
Yes. Yasqi. The I tells me the qaf should have a what? A kasra. Yeah. The qaf should have a kasra. Yasqi means to give. What's SO mean? Someone. And what's STH? So to give someone something to drink. Okay? So yasqini means he is the one who gives me something to drink, the one who quenches me, the one who, gives me water. وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ وَإِذَا. What does إِذَا mean? When. And when mariltu. When I get sick. So what are the root letters of mariltu? Mim, ra, la. Now let's look those letters up real quick. The internet is giving me problems. Ya Allah.
How do you find out the root words?
In mariltu?
Yeah, for like any words in general.
Shafa. What's the present tense?
Yes.
Look, there's an I. Yashfi. What does that mean? To cure someone of a disease, right? To heal someone of a disease or a wound. To make someone well. So when I get sick, then he
Heals.
heals me. وَالَّذِي
And the one
and the one who yumituni. Can anyone guess what the root letters of yumituni are? Mim? Not mimta. Yumituni. Mim yata. That's actually wrong. It's mim wauta. You can't guess that though. Okay? So, mim wauta. But it's if we look at the verb for mim wauta,
Wow.
what's the past tense?
Mata.
Mata. What's the present tense?
Yamut.
Yamutu. How do you know it's yamutu?
That's the you.
Because the you. Very good. Mata yamutu. What does mata yamutu mean?
To die.
To cause death.
Or to
Look.
to die.
To die. Mata means to die. However, our verb in the book was not yamutu. What was our verb? Yumitu. What does that sound like? 4-4. How do you know? A dhamma on the prefix and the
The second line.
Safi's looking at me like I'm wrong. Something feels off to you?
You said Yamutu, right?
Yeah.
That's the form 1. So
Middle
yumitu.
letter is a yeah, but it has
It has a
sukun,
kasra.
right?
Yeah, so the middle letter in yumitu actually is what letter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the middle letter of the root letters?
Well,
Wow.
Okay, so in reality, this is what we call a complicated verb. Okay,
Yeah.
very complicated,
pretty complicated.
and here's why it's complicated. I want you guys to just work this out with me before we rush forward.
You hacking something?
I'm sorry?
You hacking something? I don't know what it is.
Oh man, it's just a little CAD file. Okay?
Did you tell us this last time? Or not?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
I did, but we didn't work it through.
You said the wow is a
Okay.
sound.
Yeah, it is. So we have mata, which I'll just type out like this. Okay, mata. Past tense means what?
To die.
He died. The present tense, you guys remember what it was? Yamutu, which meant he is dying, will die, dies. Okay? Let's go to form 4. In form 4, we put a dhamma on prefix. Let's do that first, and let's just work on it step by step. So I want you guys to put a dhamma on our prefix. Let's pretend it's ya. So how would I pronounce it? You? Okay. Our second letter, our first root letter is what? Mim. Okay. It should have what in form 4? Sukun. So I would pronounce this so far as what? Yom. What's our second letter of the root letters? Wow. What am I supposed to give that? So how would I pronounce that? Yom we. And then our third letter is du. So yom we tu should be what form 4 sounds like. Should be the conjugation of this verb in present tense. Okay. Now, as you're mentioning what's wrong here is the fact that the wow, because it has a haraka, and this is like a very oversimplified version of the explanation. In short, when we have these wows or yas in the middle of a word that have harakas, they end up giving their haraka to the previous letter. So in this case, what haraka does the wow have? So it's going to give it to the word before, the letter before. So how do we pronounce that? Yumi. Now, what does the wow now have? Which means what? No.
Turn into a yeah.
When something doesn't have a haraka, it ends up taking a sukun. So how do we read this with the wow with the sukun? Yumil. Mil. But that doesn't sound right. So we turn the wow into a ya because of what's before it. There's a kasra before it, so the wow transforms into a ya. What do we get? Yumitu.
So it's really just trying to continue the sound to make it smooth.
Yes.
So the kasra is causing
The wow to transform into a ya.
So this will happen if we have wow.
Yeah, so for example, if you have a ya with the sukun and you have a dhamma before it, Alright? Like ba, dhamma, and ya sukun. How would you read that?
Boy. Boy. Boy.
Boy, oi, boy. The Arabs don't say boy. What do they say?
Ooh.
Boo. They just transform it into a wow.
Is it the same with Alif?
Alif is not even a real letter. Like, it's not like wow or ya. In reality, alif is usually like what wow or ya turn into. But nothing really starts as a alif. It's usually a wow or ya that then becomes an alif.
So it's just those two letters, really.
Those are the complicated. No, there are more. There's hamzas too, which we'll talk about that later. Okay, so yumitu is form 4, and yumitu being from form 4. Did we ever look that up? Ya Allah. Let's scroll this. I have way too much stuff open, my bad. Just close everything. It's actually, this thing takes up like 8 gigs of RAM. This is app.
Were you 3D printing earlier?
Yeah. Let me just close this. Alright. Now, if we look this up in Form 4, look what we find. What does it mean?
What are you looking at?
Form 4 to mortify.
To mortify.
To suppress. Deaden. So to make that.
To make someone die, right? It means to cause someone to die, like you said earlier. But it only means that in Form 4. It doesn't mean that in Form 1. In Form 1, mata means he died. And how do we read this in Form 4 in the past tense? Does anyone have any idea?
What?
Wait, what's the last letter?
Da.
Yeah, the first one that has a sukun.
Okay, so say, you had it right, say it.
Oh, I'm yes.
Remember, the middle letter is what? It's not yeah.
Yetu?
Oh, it's wow.
Okay, so?
I'm watching.
Okay, good. Now, what's wrong with amwata?
The wow.
Wow.
The wow's a middle letter that has a haraka. What does it typically do?
Gives it to the one before.
It gives its haraka to the letter before. So amwata would become
Oh, amata.
amata. Amata. Amata, yumitu means to cause someone to die. And we have exactly
You
that.
know the root letter. We were looking at that. Either of the
Okay. I don't know what happened. There we go. وَالَّذِي يُمِيتُنِي, and he is the one who
makes me die.
makes me die. ثُمَّ, and then يُحْيِينِي,
Bring me back to life.
he brings me back to life. Now, we know what that means, but do we know how it means, what it means? It's Form 4. How do you know that?
Because of the kasra.
The Dhamma Kasra. Good. So the Form 1, let's figure that out real quick. It's Hayaya.
I remember this.
Actually, when you want to look up double letters in this dictionary, you don't have to type them twice. So, what is the past tense of these root letters?
It's hay.
Hayya.
Ha-yi-ya. Hayya.
Hayya.
What does that mean?
To live.
To live. Okay? So, in the past tense, in Form 1, hayya means to live. We take that and put that into Form 4. How do we say it? Past tense. Past tense. Past tense. Remember, Form 4 past tense. How do we make the Form 4? How do we make the Form 4 past tense?
You had a sukun. No, it's a sukun.
That is so good.
Oh,
You want
the
the correct past tense or the
alif,
technical?
alif.
Good, very good. So you said the alif. It's not an alif. It's called a hamza. So remember.
Oh, hamza sukun.
Very good. So you take your root letter of choice. You put a hamza before it. You give position 1 a sukun and position 2 and 3 fatha. So ahyaya. Ahyaya is the original, but then it changes into ahya. Ahya means to give someone life. The present tense of ahya is yuhyi. Yuhyi wa yumit. In the Quran we have yuhyi wa yumit. He gives life and he causes death. So ahya and yuhyi are the form 4 versions of this verb. And naturally, the book here, which is book 1, basic book, seems to be not so basic now. Because this author, mashallah, has thrown all these complex verbs on us. That's part of it. And it's an important thing to actually be immersed in, because if you just go through like a curriculum where you learn how things should be, then you come into the real world. The real world, nothing is how it should be, right? You have to know that you got to be on the lookout, not just for the forms you've memorized, but also for things that transform and change. And these are all examples of that. And it is overwhelming, but the simple solution to all of that is, if you look up these words one by one, eventually those patterns will just sit in your head. You'll know what to look for. You'll see yumitu, you'll be like, that's form 4. But why does this first letter have a kasra instead of a sukun?
Yeah.
And you'll know, okay, there's something after it that had a haraka that gave it up. And you just get used to that style of thinking. That's why when we study Arabic and when we study the Quran, you have to be on the lookout for these things all the time. The Arabic language, especially with regards to weak letters, and this is just sarf. This happens in Nahu too, where there are exceptions or things don't look in the normal order. Like, for example, we've seen a lot of subject and predicate flips and swaps. The subject came last and the predicate came first. You have to be on the lookout for all these exceptional rules. وَإِنَّ الْأَصْنَامَ لَا تَخْلُقُ وَلَا تَهْدِي. Anyone know what that means? Indeed, the idols do not.
Don't guide.
What's the word for create?
تخلق.
Is that past or present tense?
Present.
That's present tense.
That's present tense. Is it male or female?
Female.
Singular, plural, dual.
Single.
First person, second person, third person.
That's
Third person, very good. Takhluqu, third person, single, feminine. Why are we looking at that again and again?
Non-human.
Because it's non-human and it's plural. Non-human plurals are always
Singular.
treated as
Singular.
singular and
Feminine.
feminine. Very good. So la takhluqu means they do not create. What's the past tense of takhluqu?
خلق.
Khalaqa. And the present tense is? So what letter will I see in the dictionary if I look that up? What letter in English will I see next?
You.
I should see a U, right? How did I look this up? Ya Allah. Is it a capital K? How do we write it? There we go. Khalaqa. Right here. Do we see a U? Okay. Here's an interesting thing I want you guys to get used to. There's not only one bab. There's not only one pattern for verbs. So if you look at khalaqa and yakhluqu, it means to create. But look down, you'll see this hyphen, and next to the hyphen, they're showing you, hey guys, this verb's not just used in one way. It's also used not as khalaqa, but as khaliqa, and in the present tense, yakhlaqu. Khaliqa yakhlaqu means for something to be old and shabby. And khaluqa yakhluqu. Yeah, they both mean for something to be worn and shabby. I know that looks like an information overload, but even the root letters in form 1 having different haraka give different meanings. The root letters in form 1 having different harakas give different meanings. That's a very common occurrence. In fact, you look at a lot of verbs, you'll see the hyphen, and you'll see, oh, it's used in a different way too. And it has a different meaning there as well.
It says khuluqa also is to be fit. But how is that the same as khuluqa?
It means for someone to have good akhlaq. You know? Akhlaq, think of
How do you know you're
akhlaq.
not calling them shabby?
Oh, okay, good. Because you only use khaluqa in the meaning of shabby for non-humans.
Okay.
And you use khaluqa in the meaning to be fit and suitable
For him.
for things that are obviously not old.
Gotcha.
Okay. So look, if you look at this I'm not talking about this right. It's too much info. TMI. So these idols do not create. وَلَا تَهْدِي, and they do not
Guide.
guide. What are the root letters of tahdi?
هدايا.
Hadaya.
Unless it's هدايا.
It is hadaya. And if we look at ha, dal, and ya, what's the past tense?
هذا
Hada. That should say an I, so the present tense is yahdi, which means
to guide.
to guide, to lead on the right way, to guide someone on a course, to show, to direct someone. And in fact, there's a lot of details about this verb that you'll find in tafasir because it has 3 different meanings in the Quran. So we say ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, which means put us on the straight path, take us to the destination. Okay? And in the Quran, وَهَدَيْنَاهُمْ إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ, we guided them towards the right path. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directed them towards the right way. And then there is 1/3 meaning in the Quran, which I'm not getting into. But these words, there are different ways to determine what they mean. I just want you right now to learn how to use the dictionary. وَإِنَّهَا لَا تُطْعِمُ أَحَدًا وَلَا تُسْقِي. وَإِنَّهَا. What does inna mean? So what does innaha mean? Indeed they. لَا تُطْعِمُ. It's not human, right? Singular feminine. So we're not going to say indeed she, we're going to say indeed they. Even though in Arabic they're not human, so we treat them as singular feminine. So indeed they لا تهدي لا تطعم أحدا.
They don't feed anybody.
They do not feed anyone. ولا تسقي, and they do not.
Give to drink.
Yeah, they don't give anyone something to drink. They don't quench anyone's thirst. All right, next line. Can you guys read it for me? What does that mean? And when?
And when anyone gets sick, they do not heal them.
So how do I translate fa? Then. Here, how do we translate that?
His.
No. Here means she. But what does it mean in English here? They. Then they. La tashfi. Do not heal or cure. وَإِنَّهَا لَا تُمِيتُ أَحَدًا وَلَا تُحْيِي. Indeed they لَا تُمِيتُ.
Do not kill.
Do not kill, do not cause anyone to die. They do not cause anyone to die. وَلَا تُحْيِي.
And they do not cause anyone to come back to life.
They don't cause anyone to come back to life. Or you can even say they do not allow anyone to live. Right? They don't allow anyone to live. They don't cause anyone to come back to life.
Is that 2 years on the tahdi?
Yes. Tuhyi. Because remember the root letters are ha, yi, ya. Hayya. Alright, our new chapter for today. This is going to be good work. By the way, after chapter 10, we're going to stop. We're going to go from 1 to 10. We're going to have a test on 1 to 10 next week. Okay?
I thought you said we don't have class.
We don't have class next week, but we do have it next Monday. I'm going to be here. Oh, yeah, we do have class next week. When did I say it? We wouldn't. I said November.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I said November
3rd, right?
Yeah, but that's like the weekend class. Today's Monday. We will have class November 4th.
Oh, okay. So we.
I just won't have the weekend class November 2nd and 1st.
Okay.
Go to your boy's wedding.
Yeah. Special person. I don't go to anyone's weddings. Amam al-Malik. This is chapter 10. So we will be going over this chapter today, but next week we will not be having any new chapters on Friday, on Monday. Alright, Amam al-Malik. Amama is a new word in the Arabic language which we haven't really talked too much about. But the first word in the whole book was, who remembers what the first word in the whole book was?
Who?
No.
Who's the father who brought
No, not the heading. No, Ba'ir al-Asnam was the heading. What was the first line?
Qabla?
Yes, Qabla. We talked about it back then. We said that words that denote time, they are always in a nasab state. Words that denote time, are always in the nasab state. But words that denote place are also in the nasab state. So we have like words like qabla and ba'da. What do you notice is at the end of both of them? They're in the nasab state. They end in fatha. Qabla, ba'da. But we also in the Arabic language have words like tahta. Anyone know what that means?
Underneath.
Under. We have khalfa,
Sorry, or behind?
behind. We have fawqa. We have amama.
Front. Oh.
You realize what do they all end in?
That's
Now they're all in the nasab state because they all denote the place of something. And they always also happen to act as mudaf. Yeah, the back room. Yeah. So amama being one of the words that denotes place is always in the nasab state, and words that denote time or place are always also going to act as mudaf. When I say they're going to act as mudaf, all I mean by that is that the word after will be in the jar state because the word after will be mudaf ilayh. But we're not going to translate it how we normally translate mudaf. Because Safi, how do we normally translate mudaf? Yeah, we're not translating it that way. Okay? It just mimics mudaf in its effect. Kind of like a harf jar. Because a harf jar, what does it do to the next word? This is also giving the next word the jar state. But this is not a harf jar because this is actually a noun. You see, harf, not a noun. But this is a noun. Amam al-maliki. How do we translate that?
in front of the king.
In front of the king. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and read each line one by one. So, Safi, you can start us off.
كان في المدينة ملك كبير جدا وظالم جدا.
Very easy. Tell me, what does that mean?
كان
Wait, when we see kana, what should your brain be thinking?
There was.
No,
Past.
no. Listen. We in this
Time,
class.
time.
No, in this class we don't care about meanings. In this class we only care about grammar.
Oh yeah.
We're looking for what? I see kana. I'm looking for what? An ism of kana and a khabar of kana. Very good. Where's the ism of kana here? Medina is not in the rafa'at state, buddy. Malikun. Not just malikun on its own.
Malikun kabir.
Wadhalimun.
Jiddan.
Yeah. Malikun kabirun jiddan wadhalimun jiddan.
So those 5 words are all
The ism of kana. Because they're in the rafa'at state. Forget the jiddans for a moment. Okay? Malikun kabirun wadhalimun are what we care about. So anytime I hear the word kana, I know I'm not going to even begin to translate this till I find the ism of kana. I'm going to start translating from the ism of kana. Then I'm going to translate kana. Then I'm going to translate the khabar of kana. If you're not going in that standard order, you will fall into trouble sooner or later. It doesn't matter how easy that sentence looks to you. Okay? So, it's the other door. So, yes.
I should ask you this like a long time, but what's the difference between khabar and ism?
Khabar is just a predicate. Ism is... these are terms that don't really make sense in English. The ism is the subject, and the khabar is the predicate. The ism is like a mubtada of kana.
Oh,
It's like the subject.
the subject,
Yes.
and
So-
khabar is the predicate.
That's right.
Okay.
So in this sentence, what's our ism?
Malikun.
So how do we translate?
The king.
No.
A king.
Oh, no, not
A king.
the king.
A king, but any old king or
A large
specific?
big king.
A big king.
A big king.
Big old king. Is it?
A great king.
Jiddan? No.
Kabirun jiddan.
Jiddan is like
A very great king, yes, or a very old king, or a very powerful king. Wadhalimun, and a very
Impressive.
oppressive king. So a very grand and oppressive king. Then we're gonna translate kana.
Was in the city.
Was, and then what's the khabar?
في المدينة.
في المدينة. So a very grand and oppressive king was in the city. Okay. Go ahead and read the next line for me, Tariq.
وكان الناس يسجدون للملك.
How do we start? How do we start?
الاسم.
Yes, good. So how do we translate?
الناس.
Yeah, nasu.
الناس.
So how do we start translating?
So the people were prostrating to the king.
Good. The people were, or how else could I translate this? The
Are?
people.
Secret prostrated.
Are?
We're prostrated.
Ghana is
Used
not
to?
art. Yes, used to. The people used to prostrate to the king. Maddie, go ahead, read the next line for me.
وسمي وإذا وسمع
Good. Yeah.
الملك أن إبراهيم يسجد الله.
Not yasjudullah. That's actually yasjudu.
يسجد.
لله.
You see, there's no alif before Allah here. You see that, Madik?
Yeah. So
Anytime you don't see alif before Allah, that means the first lam has a kasra. So yasjudu lillahi.
ولا يسجد لأحد.
Okay, so go ahead, try translating. Sami'an maliku.
So wait, I don't see.
There's no kana. Just worry about Sami'an maliku so far.
Samia heard. He heard,
Who heard?
and the people heard.
Not the people. And maliku.
Oh, and the king.
Yes.
And the king heard.
The king heard. Anna. What does anna mean?
Anna is that.
Good. So the king heard that what?
That Ibrahim.
أن has خبر الاسم.
Yes, it does. What's the ism of anna here?
إبراهيم.
Ibrahim.
And what's the khabar?
Yes.
Yasjudu lillahi wa la yasjudu li ahadin. So the king heard that Ibrahim what?
Is prostrating.
That wouldn't be the right way.
Prostrates.
Prostrates. Good.
Wait, hold on.
Remember, present tense matic can be translated in one of three ways. He is prostrating.
Prostrates.
He will prostrate, or he
Prostrating.
He-
Prostrates.
he prostrates.
Is or will.
So in the situation we're looking at here, the king heard that Ibrahim is prostrating to Allah. That just means he's doing it right now. We're not trying to say he's doing it right now. We're trying to say the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, he prostrates to Allah all the time. Right? So he heard that Ibrahim alayhi salam prostrates.
Prostrates to him.
Uh-huh.
And doesn't prostrate.
What's ahad? Yeah, so just translate it literally. To doesn't prostrate to anyone. To anyone else, basically. So he doesn't prostrate to anyone else. Okay, Wael, can you read that next one?
فغضب الملك وطلب إبراهيم.
What does that mean, Arif?
So the king benefited.
No, غضب غضب. غضبان. Help him out, right?
He got angry.
So the king was angry.
Uh-huh. He got angry. What does talaba mean, Safi?
Like request.
Request? Ordered would be amara.
No, it's I'm definitely.
What does talaba mean?
Going for
I
request.
thought I meant like study or.
Oh, ya Allah.
I'm going for
Darasa studied.
Request.
What's talib? Is student? I mean student.
Or ask for.
There's talib and I mean.
Talib is a student.
Ask for.
I thought it was like thought of an
To look
Sir,
for. Oh, okay.
order.
What does talaba mean?
To request right there.
It does mean to. I know I've been ignoring you. I'm doing that on purpose. I want you to know I just do it on purpose. In case I do. Talaba? No, I ignore him just to see if anyone has anything close to the truth. Talaba, what's the present tense?
يطلب.
Yatlubu means to look. So why is a student called a talib?
He looks for knowledge.
He looks for knowledge. Knowledge doesn't come to you, buddy. You have to go look for it. A student who sits at home and waits for knowledge to come to them is not going to very much learn much. We can attest to that, right? So غضب الملك, the king got angry, وطلب إبراهيم, and he, how can we translate this?
Called for, he asked for.
He sought Ibrahim, he looked for Ibrahim, he requested Ibrahim. وجاء إبراهيم. How do we all translate this, guys?
Ibrahim came.
وكان إبراهيم لا يخاف أحدا إلا الله. كان, what I see كان, what do I do?
Ibrahim was this.
No, what is it?
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim. So Ibrahim
لا يخاف.
كان,
No,
how do we translate كان?
used to. No,
Used to.
Ibrahim
Used to. لا يخاف.
fear. Not fear.
Not fear. Used to not fear. أحدا
Anyone.
إلا الله.
Except
Except Allah. Ibrahim used to not fear anyone save God. قال الملك. Guys, help. The king said, من ربك يا إبراهيم?
Who is your Lord?
Oh, Ibrahim.
قال إبراهيم ربي الله.
Lord is Allah.
Ibrahim said, my Lord is Allah.
Now listen, normally in Arabic we say Rabbi. What does Rabbi mean?
Mine.
He said what?
Rabbiya.
Why did he say Rabbiya? Because when you have the ya that's at the end of a noun for my, if you need to connect it to the letter afterwards, you give it a fatha. So we don't say Rabbillahu. We say
Rabbi Allah.
Rabbi Allahu. Rabbi Allahu. He said, my Lord is Allah. قال الله قال الملك قال الملك
أنا
من الله يا إبراهيم من الله
Who is the God? Yeah, Ibrahim.
Who is what?
Who is Allah?
Who is Allah يا إبراهيم Who is Allah قال إبراهيم الذي يحيي ويميت. It's in the Quran.
The one who gives life and the one who gives death.
Yes. قال الملك أنا أحيي وأميت.
I'm the one who
I am gives life and
that
gives,
gives life.
who gives death.
Yes, the king responded, I give life and I cause death.
Wait, what's that word?
ودع.
It's uhi?
أحيي
So
أحيي
saying yuhyi, but
like
with
yuhyi
I.
but with I, right?
I.
We
That
change the
makes
prefix?
it I, right?
Yes. So the king said, I give life and I cause death.
Okay.
وَدَعَ الْمَلِكُ رَجُلًا. Da'a is a word we did once before,
Invite.
I forgot.
to invite or to
Call.
call. Very good. What are the root letters? Can you remind me?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Wow, right?
Well.
Yeah. And da'a and yeah. You're actually
I
right.
remember this. Yeah.
Okay. Da'a. What's the present tense of da'a?
Yeah.
Guys, what's the present tense? Look.
Yad'u.
No, look at the letter here.
Yad'u.
Yad'u. Yad'u. Da'a yad'u means to call to summon someone. So what does the king do?
He summoned a man.
He summoned a man.
Oh, man.
وَقَتَلَهُ.
And killed him.
And killed him.
He killed him. وَدَعَا رَجُلًا آخَرَ وَتَرَكَهُ.
He
وَدَعَا.
He called
He
for
summoned-
another man.
He summoned another man. What's the word for another?
Akhar.
Akhar. Okay, guys. Akhar is a weird word. Admittedly.
Look at it.
You know why it's weird?
Looks weird.
Let me just tell you what's happening in this word.
What's the root word?
Yeah, that's where it's kind of weird.
Yakhar.
No. Okay. Akharu is a noun. Okay, that in reality, it comes from these letters. Oh man, that was a different language.
Urdu.
Okay, if we take these three root letters, okay, and I want you guys to put them on the famous pattern of af'alu.
You can't.
Akh.
You're gonna have to
Qaru?
put something in between.
Just try it. I know you know tajweed. I can tell.
Akhar.
Yeah.
Qaru.
Akhar.
Put alif. Or a mud.
Tariq, you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
I mean, just making sure you guys understand what I'm asking you.
Akhar. Akhar.
Literally, it should be akharu, right? But that's blasphemous. The Arabs don't like Hamza on Hamza. You hear Akharu has two Hamzas, so the second of those two must turn into an alif. That's also a rule of tajweed. So instead of Akharu, we're gonna say Akharu. It being on the pattern of af'alu is very similar to a word like, maybe you guys can recognize this one. Azraqu, Abiyadu. You see how all those words are on the same pattern of af'alu? What do you notice about all of them? Pay attention.
Alif. Form 4?
They're nouns, they're not
They start
verbs.
with alif.
I know they start with Hamza, but they're all ghair munsarif. They all lack tanween. We don't give tanween to words that happen to be on the pattern of af'alu. So we never say abyadun, we say abyadu. We never say azraqun, we say azraqu. We never say ahmarun, we say ahmaru. We never say akharun, we say akharu.
What are these words again?
What are these words? These are nouns that just happen to be on the pattern of af'alu. What does it mean when something's on the pattern of af'alu? All I mean is take the root letters right here and replace them with fa'in and lam, and you'll always come back to this same pattern.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense to you guys?
How so?
So take the word abyadu, okay? What are the root letters?
Bayadun.
Now replace them with fa'in lam.
Replace it with Bayalam.
Fa'in lam. So abyadu, you replace them, what would you get? Af'alu. Good. Now if something's on the pattern of af'alu, it is not allowed to take tanween. Okay? I know admittedly it's a bunch of rules that I've dumped at you. This method of mine involves me doing this hundreds of times till you remember every rule and hopefully take note of every rule and find time to watch the videos and go over every rule.
Does it change the meaning to give it tanween?
It's just not allowed. It's just the Arabs don't allow it. It doesn't change the meaning. It's just wrong. It's like saying, I don't know, cactuses.
So
This is wrong.
So it sounds like gibberish, huh?
Yeah, it sounds like you don't know Arabic if you do that.
So when the word is like amitu, then it does,
What?
like isn't that the same way?
What amitu?
Like if you're saying if it starts with alif,
Umitu.
like
Amitu. Where'd you get amitu first off?
didn't we just talk about that?
Umi.
No,
Um,
Yumuitu.
Umitu?
yeah, only.
Umitu is a verb.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, we're talking only now.
We're talking about nouns.
Oh, okay.
Verbs never get tanween, right?
Okay.
Right. So, I think what you guys are focusing on is the hamza,
Yeah.
and that's good that you're focusing on the hamza. But we're talking about an additional hamza that's added to the beginning of a noun. An additional hamza, additional meaning it's not part of the root letters, and it's at the beginning of a noun. So akharu is a noun, and it happens to start with this additional hamza.
When you say akharu, you're saying that. Are we like disregarding the alif? The hamza is like a separate letter.
Okay, so listen. The word akharu right here,
Yeah.
if you go back, I told you it comes from these three letters, right? Hamza,
Right.
kha, and ra. Okay? That's hamza, that's not alif.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I didn't type that right. So if you look at those root letters, hamza, kha, ra, I want you to take them, and I want you now to insert them in the position of fa'in and lam in the pattern of af'alu. What do you get?
If I take that with the alif, it would be akharu.
Yes,
Oh,
good.
so you're saying all three letters go insert.
Yes.
I see. Okay.
Now we have two hamzas, right?
I see.
We have two hamzas because if I take these three
And put them
and I put them right here, this second one is going to transform into an alif. What am I left with? Good. Now this noun can't take tanween. Does that make sense to you? Okay.
Can I ask a
Please
silly
do.
question?
Go ahead.
Every alif doesn't come with a hamza.
No.
Okay. And so a Hamza is like a harak.
Hamza is a real letter. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Hamza can be a root letter.
Hamza is what makes the alif have the S.
Yeah. So Hamza is.
You're right, but that's a little confusing because there are alifs that have sounds that don't have hamzas to it, like hamzatul wasl,
Yeah.
right?
Hamzas can go in ends of words or middle words.
It can be anywhere. Like
Okay.
like for example, qara'a.
Okay.
We have hamza at the end there, right?
So in my head, I treat it like a haraka kind of. Or you treating it
What
like
do you
a
mean
haraka.
as a haraka? You mean as a harf, as a letter?
No, like a dhamma or kasra or something.
Yeah, hamzas always have dhamma, kasra, fatha, or sukun. Yeah,
Oh, it has haraka as well? Of its own?
like it can have a fatha, dhamma, kasra. Yeah, like akala. What does the hamza have? It has,
Oh, like the sound E is a hamza kasra.
yes.
Oh, I see why you're saying it's a letter. Okay.
It's a real letter. Okay, it's a
Okay.
letter just like every other letter.
Okay. It's just.
I think what you've done is you've in your head you've thought of hamza as like an extra waste, like an additional letter that's added to
I thought it was
words.
like the dot on high. I thought it was like the dot on the alif. I thought in my head that's how. I
No,
treated it.
hamza and alif are separate letters. Hamza's the real letter.
Okay.
Alifs are just muds.
Okay.
You'll find the Hamza on the wow and the yeah too.
Okay.
So hamzas are the real letter, and that's a really good question. I know it sounds crazy, but hamzas are very confusing because people don't actually happen to be taught Quran thinking of hamza and alif as different.
It's silly, but it's because it's so small. If it was big like a letter.
If it was
make
written
sense.
as a whole letter of
Yeah,
its
it
own.
makes sense. It's a letter.
And for desis don't learn it, hamza and alif as different things. Because when you read the Quran in a Persian mushaf, they don't write hamzas, they just write alifs.
And they know how to say it.
No, they just put a fatha on the alif instead of a fatha on a alif hamza.
Because now when I think about it, we learned it like Mim, Nun, Wow, Hamza, yeah,
Yes.
like that.
Yeah, we learned the
Really?
hamza too in our alphabet. But in general, people think hamza and alif are synonymous, like they're the same thing. They don't realize they're different. Hamzas can function as root letters, alifs cannot.
Okay.
So when I told you, look at these three root letters, the root letter hamza is actually one of the original three letters. Okay, now when we think of a word like, for example, fa'ala, you know how there's an alif at the end? That's not a letter. That's just a mud.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's just a mud. And muds, you can write them like, you know, in short form. Like you can write a little small alif.
That's why
standing
there's
in
little
it.
alif sometimes
Yes.
hanging above words.
Yes, yes. So as we get across more and more hamzas, you'll probably have more questions about hamza because they can cause a great deal of
Why does
confusion.
Akhara here have the sign and the alif of surah? Mine has the alif.
Can you show me real quick? The alif maqsura. Yeah, that's a typographical error. It actually shouldn't really even have a mud. It should just have a standing alif. Okay. وَدَعَا رَجُلًا آخَرَ. What does آخَر mean?
Other.
Another. Okay. Here's the interesting thing. The feminine version of آخر in the Arabic language is no. It's not آخر. The feminine version is going to be أخرى. أخرى. So آخر, أخرى. If I say رجل آخر, what does that mean?
Another man.
And if I say بنت أخرى,
They're girls.
another girl. So we don't say بنت آخر, we say بنت أخرى. That's something you'll see in the Quran often as well. Anyhow, وَدَعَا رَجُلًا آخَرَ, and he summoned another man. وَتَرَكَهُ. Our verb here is تَرَكَ. Let's just look it up before we translate it.
Look, I know what it means. I'm trying to figure out how.
وَتَرَكَ. تَرَكَ in the present tense is what? Yeah, يَتْرُكُ. How do you know? The you. يَتْرُكُ. What does it mean?
To let be. So to free.
To free, right? To just leave it behind. So yet, وَدَعَا رَجُلًا آخَرَ وَتَرَكَهُ means what? He called another man and he
Left him.
let him go, right? He let him go. What point was he trying to make?
That they can make somebody
kill
live
and he
and
can
let
get
I
back.
can make someone live, I can make somebody die. You said your God, Yuhyi wa Yumeet, gives life, causes death. I do the same thing. I just killed this man and I just let this man live. I'm God. That's why people worship me. وَقَالَ أَنَا أُحْيِي وَأُمِيتُ He said,
He said,
I
give life and I kill.
I give life
And I give you.
and I cause death. قتلت رجلا وتركت رجلا
I killed a
I
man,
killed a man
and I freed a man.
and I,
Freed a man.
or instead of freed, we can just say,
Let the man go.
I let the man go, right? I let a man go. وكان الملك بليدا جدا. بليد, new word.
Does it have anything to do with from Balad?
The same root letters, but nothing similar in
You
meaning.
brought our slang back.
Balid, your slang?
No, I thought, isn't that slang, Balad?
Balad is not slang. It's
Oh, really?
Quran, Surah Al-Balad, I read it.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't read it
No,
today.
you said
Yeah,
Does
yeah,
it mean,
yeah.
does it mean city?
No, Balad is city, yeah. But we gotta look up Balid. It's the same root letter, so we'll look up Balad. Okay? Let's look up the verb, guys. Balada, balada,
Baluda.
no, oh, baluda,
Yab
yab,
Ludu.
ludu means
To be stupid.
to be stupid.
So he was very stupid.
Okay, now, that's the verb. We're not using the verb. We see a noun which is balid, which is right here. Balid means stupid. So, كان الملك بليدا means the king was very stupid.
وكان
وكذلك كل مشرك. كذلك,
Oh,
we did كذلك before. Safi, you're losing it.
and
So-
like,
No, كذلك.
We
and
just
like-
did it.
and like this.
And like this. Meaning similarly, كل مشرك,
And like
every
this, all of them.
hypocrite.
not hypocrites,
Disbelief.
not disbelievers.
Oh,
Those
Followers of
those that kiss their shirt?
who
Yes.
worship other than Allah.
Yes.
Who worship other than Allah.
So what do we call them in English? Those that commit shirk. Polytheists. Yes. And similarly, every polytheist is stupid. Because how could you be a polytheist? How could you worship more than one God? It makes no sense.
So كذلك is what is كذلك mean?
And similarly, like that. Or we can say similarly, every polytheist has a bit of dullness to them in thinking that, yeah, kullu means every in this context. That's why sometimes we have balad, like cities. What's the relationship between balad and stupid? In reality, people from the village think people in the city are stupid. Yeah, that's one
I'm pretty sure
relationship,
it's likewise.
right? I'm sure people from the city think that people are in the country are stupid too.
They just said this one baladi. Like this.
What does that mean?
Like when they're like.
Baladi is somebody from the city.
No, when they're talking derogatory, they're like.
But it's a
"Ah, baladi."
derogatory.
At the baladi,
Yeah, like
you're dumb.
Like a city slicker.
like you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Is that real? Like,
yeah. That's for real. I'm not making this up. You think I'm making this up? No, people in the balad. Okay, in reality, someone who is living in the city, they end up falling into behavior that's considered to be very foolish to someone who doesn't live in a city. Example, you live in a city, you get rough, right? You behave very irrationally to someone who's calm, who's, who isn't forced to behave very trashy, right? Someone who lives in a national park is gonna come to Houston, look at how people are behaving on 1960. They'll think city folk are stupid, right? Because
Think about the peoples out in the farmlands that
yeah, they're gonna
pass
see
through their town. They're like, get out of here,
yeah,
city boy.
yeah. So that's one possible relationship
Somebody
between
from the
them.
city like, they ain't got no Wi-Fi here.
All right. So to show oneself from the stupid side, that's what it can mean too. So أراد إبراهيم أن يفهم الملك. أراد is a new word we did before, which meant wanted. Ibrahim wanted أن يفهم الملك.
To understand the king.
Pay attention. Look carefully. Look
Ibrahim
carefully.
wanted
There's an under right
He
there.
wanted to understand the king.
No.
There's an end cause.
Understanding.
Oh, he
Wait,
wanted the
yeah,
king to understand him
How do you know that?
because of Form 4. No, not Form 4. Oh, yeah. It's,
Uh-huh.
it's
Form one. It was Form 1.
It's Form 1.
Yeah.
Ibrahim
Because-
wanted to understand the king. Right?
Nope. That's not what you see. That's where your Arabic's in danger. That's where Arabic's in danger. I don't care about meanings. I care about grammar.
Oh, the end. Does the end cause?
Nope. That has nothing to do with it. The end causes yafhama to have the nasab stay. Yeah, we know that.
It's the
That's what
hum.
I'm saying. Because if it was written and yafhamul.
That would be wrong. Yeah.
I don't know how would have understood it as
It's the hum. It's the yaf
like as Ibrahim
Hum
trying
and
to
Malik.
make
and
the king understand.
Nope. That would be Form 4.
Okay.
That this isn't Form 4. Guys, look carefully. You don't even need your notes.
It's the Isra? No.
Is it al-milku?
No. Is the Malik part of the.
It's al-milku.
Safi, you're saying something that might be right, but say it again. I don't think you're understanding what you're
The
saying.
Malik is like the subject.
Good. No, you're close. The Malik is the what?
It's a
Isra.
khabar.
No, there's no subject in predicate. This is a jumla fi'liya.
It doesn't flip.
And is
Forget an, guys. Look at the next two words after an.
يفهم الملك.
Al-Maliku.
Yeah, cool.
Al-Maliku. Al-Maliku.
See the subject? The ism?
Al-Maliku. He's in the Rafa'at state,
Yeah. I
which
noticed
means he
that.
is the
Doer.
doer.
Yeah.
That's what the fa'il. So Ibrahim
trying to
wanted what?
What is that?
The king to understand. Not him. He wanted the king to understand. It doesn't say he wanted to understand the king. If it were meaning he wanted to understand the king, what would the harakat of king be?
Malika.
Al-Malika would be in the
Nasab.
nasab state because it would be the object of the sentence. In this case, Malik has a dhamma, meaning Malik is the doer of the verb, which means he wanted the king to understand. He didn't want to understand the king. You think Prophet Ibrahim didn't understand the king? He understood the king. He wanted the king to.
I wanted to know how the guy
Yeah.
said
So this is a great example of why grammar. Why this is a perfect demonstration to any Arab of why grammar, without it, the Arabic language is useless. Because you can say things that everyone will misunderstand if the harakat are not understood.
I can understand
But,
some of some translations of the Quran.
You can now, right? Yeah.
is al-milku like in
I was like, shut up.
in the
I did.
it's always with
I
the
pointed at it.
in
You were like,
when it's in the khabar state.
But not when it's the object. You know, the way they were translating before Tariq was Ibrahim wanted to understand the king.
Yeah.
So who's the doer in that sentence?
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim, right? He wanted to understand. And who's the object in that sentence?
The king.
The English.
Oh.
Ibrahim wanted to understand the king. Who's the object?
Ibrahim.
No.
Ibrahim.
wanted the king, so the king is the object.
Okay, no. Not the object of wanted. The object of understand. He wanted to understand the king.
Oh, Ibrahim is the object that wanted to understand.
Huh?
The way you're saying, the English is confusing.
let me simplify this.
Yeah.
Forget the wanted part.
Okay.
Forget the to part. Okay? I'm going to tell you this in very simple words. I'll say, Yusuf understood the teacher. Yusuf understood the teacher. Who's the doer here?
Yusuf,
And who's the object here?
the teacher.
Good. In this situation here,
yeah.
if I said to you in English, hypothetically, Ibrahim alayhi salam had a hope that one day he would understand the king. What's the object here?
The king.
Good. Okay? Now let's simplify that sentence a little bit more. They translate it as Ibrahim wanted to understand the king. What did he want to understand?
The king, the object.
So the object would be the king.
Yeah.
However, the Arabic, the king is not the object. Otherwise, it would be al-malika. It would be in the nasab
Why
state.
is Ibrahim?
That's why I'm just confused on that. Al-Malika, you're saying it would be, we should know because it should be Al-Malika, but it's Al-Maliku.
Yes.
But it's all, the noun is always, it's the noun, Al-Malik.
Good. The noun is not always in the rafa'at state. The noun is only in the rafa'at state if it's the subject or if it's the doer.
Oh,
So
that's
here-
what I was,
Okay.
that's what.
So that grammar part, you had a gap of understanding
Okay,
there.
okay.
So is he the doer?
Yes.
Yeah, he's
yes,
the doer,
okay.
right? Malik is the doer. He wanted the king to
To understand.
understand. Yes.
So Ibrahim here is the subject because it's marfu'.
Ibrahim here is the doer of the verb arada.
Oh my God, yeah, that makes sense.
So it's
Okay? And this sentence right here is going to take like a 30-minute tarkib.
is it wrong
breakdown?
to try and split it into two parts of Wa'arad Ibrahim and then any of
That's not wrong. That's actually how we're supposed to doing it.
But it was throwing me off.
So Ibrahim wanted, okay? Now, let's think about the word wanted in English for a second.
Okay.
Is it ever used with an object in English or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, who?
Yeah, you
want something.
I want food.
Yes.
I want you to get out of my life.
Yeah. We have to figure out who wants, who's the one.
Good. So we have a want, and then we have the desire itself. We have the verb wanted, and then the object of desire. So in this sentence, arada is a verb. Ibrahim is the doer. The object is the whole sentence. An yafham al-maliku.
Oh.
What did Ibrahim want?
To understand.
No, he did not want to understand. He wanted the king to understand. Okay? Now, the king to understand is the object of what?
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim's desire. Okay? Arada. But in his maf'ul bihi, in the object, for the king to understand, we have yafhama, which is a verb. It needs a doer. Who's the doer of that verb? The maliku. So you're understanding how this breakdown is happening?
Yeah.
And if we write it out, this would become a very long, stretched out
Right.
breakdown of what's going on. وَيَفْهَمَ قَوْمَهُ, and he wanted,
It's
People to understand.
how do you know? It says his people to understand.
Qawmuhu.
قَوْمُهُ. What if it said قَوْمَهُ?
Then his people to understand his people.
Oh.
He wanted to understand his people.
Yeah.
يَفْهَمَ قَوْمَهُ means he wants to understand his people, but it doesn't say قَوْمَهُ, it says,
Qawmuhu.
so what does it mean?
His,
So it's the doer. He wants the people to understand that.
He wants the people to understand. So the single dhamma fatha, big difference in tarkib. And in fact, across the different qira'at of the Quran, you'll find completely different meanings to ayat based on that single haraka change. Which,
that's, no.
it's a little bit advanced. And the miraculous part is they all are still correct and mean the same thing. But that's an advanced lesson. Inshallah, we'll look at the Quran after you guys learn Arabic. SubhanAllah.
That's
right.
Very good.
Yeah, go
And
ahead.
then it's still 8:45 or is it?
It's 8:30. Inshallah, from November 3rd, we're gonna have class at 7:30 after Isha.
Yeah, do you want to
Isha will be at 7:15. Yeah, we'll talk.
It's 7:30. So nothing's gonna change.
Nothing's gonna change.
Traffic
الله
lights are
أكبر
gonna change.
الله أكبر